So why is that? Why the guy who gets so much negativity towards him, who doesn't care about his diet, who is overweight and he's in his 70s, actually seems to be so healthy and so energized and so full of life? Think about it. Look at how he perceives reality. Hey guys, this is Mike Sygula, truthfear.com. This video is really important, so please pay attention because I think it will open a lot of people's minds. We're hearing over the last few decades, more and more research is being done that a lot of what's going on with our health is actually caused by stress. And stress can mean many different things. It can mean something like negative thinking. Can be, let's say, you had a divorce 5-10 years ago and you still have it in your head constantly that you made some mistake, or you are worrying about the future, or something traumatic happened years ago and you're still thinking about it, or you just have a challenging work and you're stressed every day. So all these stimuli, all these different factors and things over a longer period of time can have a tremendous effect on our health, right? Even probably more in many cases than what we eat. So there is a second side to it, completely the opposite. If negative thoughts and stress and worrying and all these kinds of emotions and states can cause disease and can cause health problems, what if being happy, being positive, that can create the opposite, right? So I think a very interesting example that many people don't see is Donald Trump. And let's put politics on the side for a moment. I don't want to talk about him as whether I support him or not or anything like that. Let's ignore that. Think about what's going on in his head. You have a guy who is in his 70s, who is overweight, who eats apparently McDonald's and junk food mostly, who very often doesn't take holidays. I was reading some of his books, and apparently the only time when he would go on holidays would be like a weekend playing golf just to check his businesses and get relaxed slightly. So he's like a tank, built like a tank. He's been working extremely hard all his life. He apparently used to wake up like 4 a.m., work all day, eat some crap, and he still manages at the age of 70 something to have so much energy. Despite all the attacks on him, all the ridicule, media, politicians, he's one of the most hated people on the planet, one of the most polarizing figures in the history perhaps. So obviously he deals with a lot of negativity towards him, but despite all that, he still has a lot of energy. He still can work extremely hard. I think he catched COVID. The next day or 2 days later, he was already working in the hospital. So sitting at the desk and doing his stuff. So why is that? Why the guy who gets so much negativity towards him, who doesn't care about his diet, who is overweight and he's in his 70s, actually seems to be so healthy and so energized and so full of life? Think about it. Look at how he perceives reality. You can say whatever you want about him. He almost like he doesn't listen. He just thinks about himself. I'm doing a great job. Everything I do is tremendous. This kind of stuff, right? Because how he perceives himself, because of how he sees himself in his own mind, in his own view, in his own perception, I think that creates this kind of internal placebo-like effect that keeps him healthy. Because it's like, if you are happy about yourself, no matter what people say, you know, no matter if it's true or not, you know, if you deserve to be happy about yourself or not, that doesn't matter. It's not about what others think, it's about what you think about yourself. So I think that totally the way he approaches his persona, the way he's internalizing things, how he perceives himself as a figure, and whatever he's doing, even if it's, you know, inaccurate or some kind of delusion, I don't know, but all that is actually creating that effect where he is healthy, he is, you know, energetic. So think about that. What happens on the other side? What happens when you have the opposite? When someone is worrying, when someone is stressing, when someone internalizes some kind of criticism, all this stuff creates illness, all this stuff creates health problems. So let me give you another really interesting example. Some of you might know about Joe Dispenza. He's doing some really interesting research. He developed loads of different meditation techniques that supposedly heal people. I've been to his workshops. I understand how these things work, and I've been experimenting with meditation for like 13 years, so I'm familiar with a lot of this stuff. In his book, it was in Supernatural, they talk about this woman who had a family, had a husband and children, and one day her husband left home and committed suicide. What happened was that she would basically suddenly stayed in this traumatic state where she had all sorts of emotions: anger, why did you leave me, frustration, sadness, all these negative emotions were going through her. Then she found out that he was in debt, and he didn't even tell her about it. She also inherited some of his debts, and over the next period of time, I'm not sure, maybe it was like 2-3 years, something like that, she developed all sorts of health problems, until the point where she had to do chemotherapy, things like that. You know, you can imagine this kind of situation, right? Imagine you go through something like that. What happens in your life? Your life is flipped upside down in a day, and you might go through so much trauma, such a kaleidoscope of emotions. Some people might go through it for years. So what happened was that she was in such a high levels of stress over the next couple of months and years that she developed all sorts of health problems, all sorts of conditions that were very, very serious. You know, I don't remember all the details, but you can check it out. It's in the book Supernatural. And the interesting thing is that when she was having enough of life and everything, she prayed and asked for healing or something like that. She prayed for getting out of this situation. And then apparently what happened was that she started attending Joe Dispenza's workshops, and she started doing these exercises that they were doing. A lot of these exercises are basically trying to create the opposite. So, you know, you meditate, for example, and you visualize some kind of emotional states, being happy, feeling love, all this kind of stuff. So if the state she got herself into took maybe 3 years or whatever to develop, then obviously to get out of it, it also is going to take a little bit of time, right? So, and that's exactly what's happened. And apparently doctors were telling her that she's stupid, she should not quit chemotherapy, this is some kind of fairy tale bogus stuff. But she didn't listen, and she was doing exercises, and then after I don't remember, 3 years or whatever, she healed herself completely. And then she started teaching these things herself. So a couple of years later, she became successful. She started her own coaching career and things like that. Yeah, so another example of how thought patterns, how the way we perceive reality is affecting our internal state, our health, our physical health. Anyway, let me know what you think about this video. Please subscribe, share, and comment. I want to know what are your views about these ideas. No matter if you like Trump doesn't like Trump. This is not about that. It's about what's happening in his head, and I think he's a really interesting example.